Air Jordans are probably the most iconic pair of shoes ever made, but even they got banned at some point by the NBA, and this left many fans scratching their heads. So why did the Jordans get banned in the first place? Now, Michael Jordan is one of the best players to have graced the game of basketball.
Jumper rimming, no. Rebound, Cartwright. Off to Jordan. Michael underneath for the dunk.
But as great as he was, even he had his fair share of problems with the NBA. He helped take the Chicago Bulls, the worst team in the league, and make them 6-time champions. However, before he became the MJ we all know today, he had to fight for his spot on the roster. In time, he proved why he deserved respect and was the best player on the court. Still, his problems didn't end there. Back when he launched his Air Jordan 1s, the NBA banned them. So you might be a bit confused. Why would the NBA ban a pair of shoes? Well, you see, the NBA had a dress code. The shoes themselves were black and red, and this didn't comply with the NBA dress code. Jordan was fined $5,000 every time he wore the shoes on court. Let's just say he wasn't too happy about everything that was going on. So what did Jordan have to say? Back when all of this was happening,
it's kind of fun to come back here and play and remember some of the old days and some of the things that some of the games that I've had here, and the shoes was a part of that. So
Jordan was out making the rounds on late night talk shows talking about this issue. One of these talk shows was David Letterman. Now, Letterman is a legend in the film industry, so naturally his opinion matters. During the interview, Letterman asked Jordan what was wrong with the shoe. Instead of getting hyped up or angry, Jordan was pretty calm with his response.
Now, do they know who they're going to bring in yet?
No. Yeah. You want to? I mean, you can do a good
right.
job.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Take you.
Well, neither does the NBA.
He talked about how the shoe didn't comply with the league's dress code. The NBA didn't like the fact that there wasn't any white on the shoe. I know it's probably the dumbest and most hilarious thing you've heard all day. Jordan then went on to ease the tension a little bit and talked about how the shoes weren't the best looking. This threw Letterman for a loop, and he asked Jordan why he thought so. Apparently, up until now, everyone assumed Jordan had a huge role in the making of the shoe. Jordan then clarified that he helped design the shape and feel of the shoe, but the colors and other decisions were made purely by Nike. The two then joked about how the NBA didn't want him to wear the shoe because they were so ugly. And from what I could tell, the NBA was pretty hell-bent on stopping him from repping his brand.
So Jordan gets in the passing lane, and Phillips with a turnover. Michael with the finish. Michael Jordan for two.
Still, just how far were they willing to go? Well, when I say the NBA didn't like shoes, I mean they really didn't like the shoes. It seems like these guys were just not ready to let Jordan wear his brand, even fining him every time he wore his shoes on the court. Imagine that, being a player as awesome as Michael Jordan and not even being able to rep your brand. Calling the NBA salty would be an understatement. The NBA didn't just stop at telling Jordan to not wear the shoes, they even decided to send a letter to Nike. The letter stated that the shoes didn't comply with their rules and that Jordan couldn't be seen wearing them during games. From what I could tell, this was the NBA's toddler phase when they weren't the most accepting back then. Sure, they've still got their problems, but compared to how they used to be, I'd say they've grown immensely. These types of rules are pretty crazy, which makes you wonder, why would the biggest basketball league in the world have a rule like that?
And he got his dunk on Mount Matumbo.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes the NBA rules and regulation don't make any sense to me. I mean, why would a giant corporation have a problem with a bit of color? It's not like they're losing any money over it. Still, they probably had their reasons. The best I can come up with is the fact that the shoe would cause visibility issues. It still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we can try. See, white is naturally easier to see. You could be doing anything like playing a sport, working a job. If you're wearing white, you'll be spotted from a mile away. Maybe that's why they didn't want Jordan's shoes on the court. They wanted to make sure that his opponents could see his feet.
10. Jordan a drive. Hangs. Fires. Yeah!
Jordan picked it off behind the back. Oh, yes, sir. Wow.
Now, this may sound crazy to you, but hear me out. Before a player runs in a certain direction, he shifts his weight onto one foot. The defender uses that motion to try and guess where he's going to go. Besides, Jordan ended up wearing another brand in the end, though you might be surprised by his eventual choice. Yep, Jordan wore Penny Hardaway's Air Flight 1s. Since he couldn't wear his shoes during games, he was forced to make a switch. He ended up going with Penny Hardaway's Air Flight 1s against the Orlando Magic. Something must have clicked when he wore them because he went on to drop 40 points against the Magic in the Eastern Conference semifinals. When talking about how Jordan wore his shoes, Hardaway was in awe.
That's the ball up the floor. So Chicago has been disrupted here. 33 points.
He was very happy that a player as great as Michael Jordan had worn his shoes. He was pretty ecstatic that Jordan had chosen his brand out of all the others. And the icing on top was the fact that Jordan played his best while wearing Hardaway's shoes. Now, even though Harden crushed it while wearing those shoes, the Bulls failed to win the game and ended up in a 2-2 tie. They were knocked out 6 games later. And while the Air Flight 1s had a certain magic to them, I guess it just wasn't enough to help the Bulls win the NBA championship that year. Still, there's no denying those shoes were a lifesaver for Jordan. The man dominated them, and it's hard to believe all the trouble one pair of sneakers cost the guy. So, were the Air Jordan 1s worth it? I can't believe I have to even answer this question. Those sneakers ended up becoming the most classic pairs of sneakers in the world. At some point, they even became a fashion statement. Jordan may have just ended up designing the best shoes ever made. They have great ankle support, they look extremely stylish, and are amazing overall. With those shoes, Jordan launched a brand that helped propel Nike to astronomical heights. There's no denying the fact that Nike owes a big chunk of its fame to Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan wearing the original Air Jordans that he wore the first time he played at Madison Square Garden back in 1984.
This place is going crazy.
The man was one of the greatest of all time, and he proved it both on and off the court. Never able to settle with the loss, he was just a born winner. The shoe brand he launched with Nike helped earn him millions and propelled the company to new heights and levels of fame. The shoes are considered a collector's item nowadays, and if somebody is rich enough to afford them and wear them, you're most likely to see them in places like a fashion show. It's pretty awesome to see how Jordan managed to fight back against the NBA. He didn't have to compromise his morals or his brand. Instead, he ended up helping market another player's brand and build even more hype up for his own.
2 seconds to shoot over Houston. Got it. It must be the shoes. Michael.
Another drive right in the lane. 18-footer.
There's a reason why Jordan is considered the greatest to have ever touched a basketball. The man has proven time and time again he deserves all the success he managed to earn over the years, and I'm glad to see that Jordan was able to reach such heights of fame. Just thinking about the Air Jordans makes me want to go out and buy a pair. And that was the story of how Michael Jordan ended up getting his shoes banned from the NBA, and we'll see you in the next video.
Jordan, turn, knock it away. Yes. Michael, flying zone.
By 5 is Michael for 2.
Well, this goes right up there to having my kids. My kids are the most important things to me, my wife, my family.
You know, this is a hard-fought three-peat, you know what I mean? It took a lot of work. A lot of times it looked kind of dim.
Championship, and it's their second three-peat.
It is, man. It's just so gratifying for me personally. You know, I went through a lot of hard times this year, but